I hope you're all well. Hopefully this is working. I'm trying to simulcast to or stream to Facebook and YouTube at the same time. So I might just get into it and hopefully it works. If not, hey, that's technology. We can try again. So I actually did go live before in my Facebook group and the mirror effect was on. So I thought it's not going to be much good with the writing backwards. So what I'm talking about today is important as anything really. It's how to relate to other humans and also how humans think and why we do what we do really. Often something happens, we have judgment around that, and then we have a thought around it from several different stories that we've got as children, and then that spurs an emotion, and that then puts us in that emotion. We're feeling that emotion, and we can often wonder why. And humans will say often, drop that, just drop that emotion, not stop feeling that way, and it's not that easy. So if we understand there are actually layers to our emotions, then we can actually understand, what's going on. So, so many humans don't understand their emotions, and once we can observe what's going on within us, we can then kind of be the watcher, as Eckhart Tolle says, and realize I guess it's hard to see the forest through the trees, but when you're actually aware of what's going on in your body and why you're feeling the way you're feeling, it's a lot easier to discover why you're feeling that way. And if you're in sales or anything like that, obviously you can imagine, or even in your relationships and things like that, you can imagine how good it is to be aware of what you're feeling. And I've seen emotions shown as 64 different emotions, as 32 emotions, 18, right down to just 2 emotions, fear and love. And you could even say that fear is just the absence of love. And, in every sort of single moment in life, we're either giving love or we're wanting to receive love. And that can be in the form of wanting love from people's judgments, their opinions, our sense of wanting to belong. And sometimes people will try to get love in the form of drinking or drugs or whatever void-filling, sabotaging behaviours people get into. And some people are in a perpetual roundabout, and they're, doing that void-filling behaviour over and over again, and deep down really wanting love in its different forms. And any external thing won't give you that love. We need to look inside, and some people are spending every waking moment looking for love in its different forms. So generally men hurt others. Society's expectations around men, harden up, don't be such a wussy, don't be weak. And we often want to mask that pain by lashing out at others. This is a generalization. It's not always the case, but generally men, will not want to uncover or look at their emotions, so they will lash out at others. Generally, women tend to search for love by hurting themselves. So society will say it's okay to be emotional, it's okay to be nurturing, and a term I'm not advocating. However, I think you'll agree that society says it's okay for women to be more needy or victimy. And yeah, in family roles, the man's supposed to be deemed as in control. And one of the worst things you can say to a boy is, don't be a little girl. And I'm not saying that's right at all, but I'm sure you'll agree that it's just so. That's the way things are. We do say, don't be a little girl, man up, don't be a wussy to men. And yeah, women generally will shame themselves, or you know, it's more internal sort of thing. They won't lash out at as others as much as men do. So again, I'm not saying this is right, but it generally is so in society, and I'd love to know your thoughts on that too. I'm not here to start anything, but I'm just saying what generally is the stories we tell ourselves, and yeah, it's a shame, really. So I'll get to the 6 layers very shortly. And I think it's confusing for men as well, that being told to man up, you know, open a, what is it, go buy a can of harden the F up or whatever it might be. Yeah, and that's confusing for men, because they're thinking, well, I'm not allowed to confront my emotions, and often they're proving to themselves that they're not a wussy, or they're not a sissy, or whatever term you want to use, and they'll be thinking, why am I feeling so average, or whatever they might be feeling. So and that can be from the world around them saying don't deal with your emotions. So as I say, I've seen 64, 32, 18, all different numbers of emotions that we can feel, right down to 2, fear and love. But this is the best representation I've seen to look at human emotions. And as I mentioned, I've seen so many, and this is the most complete one I've seen. So I'll put them down now. So if we look at this 6 layers of human emotion, I'll try and write as clear as I can. Top ones are anger. Next one is pain. What do we got? Fear and regret. Hopefully you can see this okay. Desire. And love and appreciation. Okay, so if you think of these layers as a building, what have we got here? As a tall skyscraper, come across here so we can fit it in. And I'll try and put lines here. So each, if you think of these as floors on a building, try and give it even a little bit of 3D effect. And if you think about an elevator, if we need an elevator to go up the floors, we can't go outside of the building to get to anger, say the 6th floor, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Thank goodness I've put them all there. So yeah, if you imagine an elevator and we've got to go up the building, you can't go outside of the building in the elevator to get to, say, the 5th floor. You know, we need to go through these emotions to get to that emotion. So this is quite an amazing thing to discover. If you think you're in anger, but then you look at, you know, think of it as large, heavy lounge room rugs, and 6 rugs piled up on top of each other. And if you pull back these layers of emotion and actually ask yourself, why am I feeling this emotion? So if you're in an angry state, if you ask yourself, why am I feeling pain right now? What am I fearing? And that will actually, you'll discover that emotion and think why, you know, uncover that feeling that you're feeling. So it's quite a trippy thing once you start looking at that. And in terms of conflict, if two people are angry at each other, anger never solves anything. I'll say confidently that anger for me has never ever been a great solution to solve any problem. When you're in anger, it takes over you, and it never resolves that problem, never. And often we make decisions on our emotions rather than outcomes. If you think of it, I think a great analogy that my mentor spoke about around this was, if you think about an all-you-can-eat buffet, and you've paid the all-you-can-eat price, and you can put any food on your plate, but some certain foods give you an upset belly or an outcome that you don't like. Although that they're there for you to grab those foods, you're not going to really put them on your plate. So if we think about the same as emotions, we can choose the emotions that we have, or we can choose not to go into them. So if you think anger is not going to give me a solution or a good outcome, I'm not going to resolve anything if I'm in anger, then you can choose to not put that on your plate by going through this process and just asking yourself, why am I feeling, angry? What pain am I feeling at the moment? What fears have I got? What things do I regret? What do I want? And if two people are in a love or appreciation, you'll never really have that fight. If you're coming from a true place of compassion and love, then it's very hard to be angry and still be in that sort of fight mentality. So as I say, society often says to us, let it go. It's not that easy, because we've got these stories from growing up, often from below the age of 5. We've got all these stories that have shaped what we perceive as the world. And if we can uncover, what's my story around this, what's my story around that, you can actually tell yourself a different story. But it's also not that easy. Another analogy I love is, if you think about a plane flying with a banner behind it, you see these often biplanes flying along with a big banner in summertime often, and they have a message on the background. You can't change that sign while up in the air. It would be virtually impossible to pull that sign in and put a different sign on the back of that plane while you're flying along. But if you land the plane and the analogy is stop for a second and ask yourself the questions around what you're feeling at the time. I've got some questions here. I'm angry that, or when, ... It hurts me when. I'm scared that. I'm sorry that. What I really want is, and I love and appreciate you for. And then if you also think about, say you're having a fight with a family member and you want to not be fighting, if you think about these 6 layers here and think, a great example was a mother and daughter that were fighting. The father had left and he was saying things about the mum cheating, and the daughter was buying into that, and the mother was adamant that she hadn't cheated in the relationship, and the daughter and her were fighting every day. And what was uncovered around coaching was that the daughter was actually fearing being abandoned, and she was feeling pain from the loss. And so the mother and daughter were feeling anger. They were fighting every day. It just wasn't getting anywhere. But through the coaching process, was able to actually go into those layers and say, okay, well, the daughter is feeling pain around the father leaving. She fears that she's going to be abandoned. And then the mother found it very hard to be angry, still in anger with that daughter, because she's then looking at, okay, my daughter's in pain, she's fearing something, and it's just a totally different mantra around emotions. So she can relate with compassion and see a daughter in a different light, rather than, and tell herself a different story around that, not say, oh, she's a little so-and-so and she's saying these horrible things about me cheating and I'm going to lash out and be horrible to her and punish her. And likewise with the daughter, thinking I'm angry at the mum because of this, this, and this. Through a little bit of uncovering these emotions, able to look at the world in a different way. And since learning that, I've done similar. I very rarely choose anger now. Yeah, because I just think, why am I angry in this moment? And I'm not saying, you know, I do still feel anger, I must admit. But yeah, it's very rarely, as I say, very rarely get to that point of anger, because I think I'll remove these rugs, these floor rugs, and look at the layers below it and think, what am I feeling right now? What am I scared about? Why am I, you know? And it's not always anger either. You know, you might be feeling fearful about something and you're regretting that you haven't moved on that opportunity. You desire to move on that opportunity, so you're fearing something. And yeah, just start uncovering those layers. So I'd love to know your thoughts on that. Yeah, hopefully these lives worked. As I say, I tried to go to YouTube and Facebook at the same time. And yeah, if you're on the YouTube, feel free to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I'd love you to comment. And yeah, hello to my group, Transform Lives Tribe, which I love you all to bits. So feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to do 30 minutes of free coaching with you if you'd like to go through this process. There's a tool that we use to uncover emotions around different things. So be more than happy to do that with you and see if I'm the right fit if you'd like to do some further coaching as well. So thank you very much. Fingers crossed this worked, and I'd love to know your thoughts and comments on this. Signing off. Bye-bye.